your new van. You got a new van, right? Oh, we thought we saw you.
The really big concern didn't come to pass.
So you still got your van.
Put a new radiator.
Good.
I still have it, but I'm still confident the registration runs out this month. So I'm at a decision point.
Yeah.
But that's the latest.
Okay.
So it's running, I've only had one start problem once now.
Yeah. Well, I hope it works out okay. We want to talk to you about coming up. Sally wants you to help her clean some windows. She's going to work on the house.
I put her in the bathroom, so I wanted to talk to her. All I told her was I wanted to talk to her.
Yeah, good.
I said there, we've got about
Okay.
4 minutes. Mike is here.
I would go. You want to go first to 3? It would be good if you could go ahead and put it on. No. Okay. You could fade from black up into 3.
So take this down in about 4 minutes.
Yeah. And go
I
through.
thought there was a way that you could have this over this. For a second.
No.
And then you put this to the flag.
You won't be able to see the flag because everybody will be standing up.
Okay, so we go to
It's
this.
just good to do the wide shot.
We got about 3 minutes. So you fade this out, go to 3, and then bring it back up.
Yeah. Fade down and hit 3.
And then you have to fade black to get that.
Yeah. I'll go.
Now, what about your sound?
It's turned all the way down.
Yeah, how do you get something?
Push these up in here and you have to hold it and watch it come up to about that high right before they start.
They're smooth.
Well, it is. Push this on, and then you can push through and it'll dissolve into it.
That's what I
That's
thought.
all you need.
And then what do you do? Did anything else go away?
Well, that's going to go away and you're not going to hit that one again. But the next time you hit it, go ahead and turn that on stage and you got auto and go cut E so you're not going into the other side. So the big cuts. I'm just saying, just fade up and you're going to have to fade from black. All you're going to do is just have it as auto like that and every camera through it and it'll pull it.
And then after this goes completely away, go to cut. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, we have about a minute.
There's not a big rush to get off camera for you. I would set it up so you got a good shot. I'm like, no, she's going to say something. And that way you can just cut it. You can just cut it. Now, another thing I found, you don't really need too tight, but you can get every dance without having to zoom. That should be good. No, I'm like the full story.
Everybody ready? Okay. I want to call the April meeting town board of Black Mountain to order. If you'll please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You remain standing, and please keep in mind the problems that are around the world, especially that in the Gaza Strip and with Israel. Okay. I don't know if you all had noticed in the Asheville paper, but there was a good article about the War Lasses and the softball team. And then it looks like they're well on their way to going to the playoffs again. Last year they made it to the third round, and they basically got the same core team this year. So if you get a chance, they still have a few home games. So I'm sure they'd be most appreciative for attendance at those games. And I wish to read something here that I've written about the public safety building. We have an excellent fire department. We have an excellent police department. This town council has provided both departments very good computers, radios, vehicles, equipment, etc. We now need to make sure that the public safety building is also in good shape. We've had several studies by structural engineers over the past 2 decades. It appears we need to authorize another study. The previous study did not show any major structural defects. Yes, there are cracks, there may be some settling, and there are some loose tiles in the showers, but the building is safe. It is not falling down, it does not pose threats to the men and women who work there. What it needs is some TLC. Yes, there's been water in the basement. We need to upgrade the French drain system that your mayor put in some 30 years ago for a possible teen club. He cut a trench around the 3 internal walls of the basement, dug out the ditch, and installed a drain pipe with gravel to provide a French drain. We need to see if we need a sump pump or a dehumidifier to correct the moisture problems. If the building is settling, we need to use a structural restoration company who will provide us with what is necessary, maybe even pumping concrete under the footers. Just think, if you've ever been to Miami, if you've ever been to Charleston, most of those buildings down there are built on old creeks or old swamps. There are several good restoration companies who can resolve the settling if it poses a threat. Just because there's a crack is not indicative of an imminent collapse. We need to address the areas of concern, and I feel certain that this board will direct the town manager to correct these problems ASAP. We have the money. The roof design is similar to the clubhouse and the soccer center, where a system called ClearSpan was incorporated to eliminate the need for extra interior wall support. As to the power issues, Generac has systems to ensure continuous power for both the police and fire departments. We just need to install them. With regards to space, we need to understand that we're a small town of 8,800 people. We need to address our needs as our town grows, but we need to understand it is not growing at a super fast rate. We have only added about 800 people in the past decade. When the fire department needed space, the town council voted to buy the Clevenger Sock Factory a couple of decades ago and convert part of the mill into a substation. There's plenty of room over there to build a police substation if they need the room. We need to ensure the safety and working conditions of all our employees. Let's just do it and fix the problems. Now I'm going to read the ethics statement. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the council, all council members have a duty to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner, free of conflicts of interest. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which will have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact for any council member, his or her family, or close business associates.
No.
Does any council member have a financial interest in any public contract coming before this council today?
No.
There being none, members have a duty and an obligation to vote. Mr. Altman? On the proclamations here, we've got 4, and board members are wishing to go ahead and read some of these. So first up will be the 2A resolution proclaiming no mow May. Alice Berry.
This is an initiative to encourage residents to pause mowing their lawns during the month of May, not to make the town a mess, but to encourage pollinators to have that early growth season to help our ecosystems here. I've spoken with our town manager and director of public works. The town will be potentially participating in some of this, but obviously mowing where it's essential for safety around intersections and the like. So, the resolution reads, whereas insects, especially bees, serve a significant and critical role as pollinators of plants, including agricultural plants, and whereas the ideal pollinator-friendly habitat is one comprised of mostly native wildflowers, grasses, vines, shrubs, and trees blooming in succession throughout the growing season, and whereas the formative period for establishment of pollinators and other insect species, and the many songbirds and other urban wildlife species that depend on them, occurs in late spring and early summer as they emerge from dormancy and require flower plantings as crucial foraging habitat. And whereas No Mow May is a community science initiative that encourages property owners to limit lawn mowing practices during the month of May to provide early season foraging resources for pollinators that emerge in the spring, especially in urban landscapes where few floral resources are available. And whereas the town of Black Mountain Town Council would like to encourage interested residents to increase pollinator-friendly habitat by encouraging pollinator-friendly lawn care practices on their own properties for the month of May during this formative period. And now therefore be it resolved that the town of Black Mountain Town Council recognizes No Mow May to actively promote and educate the community about the critical period of pollinator emergence, generation of crucial pollinator supporting habitat, and early spring foraging opportunities. The town council also encourages citizens to visit www.bcityusa.org/no-mow-may to learn more. Be it further resolved that the town of Black Mountain Town Council directs staff not to issue correction notices for long grass and weed violations for the month of May, permitting all residents to voluntarily delay lawn care until June. This would allow pollinator species to emerge and early flowering grasses and forbs to establish, which may result in ground cover exceeding established ordinance height restrictions of 12 inches, as referenced in the Town Code of Ordinances, Chapter 20, Article 5, Section 20-203.
Thank you, Alice. Next is going to be a resolution.
Does she make a motion? Do we have to vote on that?
I think we would do it.
Shall we
at the end.
take them one at a time or at the end?
I don't know.
I mean, just do one. We can do them at the end as a group. There's 4 resolutions, unless you want to have a special vote.
Sure. Well, it sounds like our town attorney has recommended that, so I'll make the motion that we adopt this resolution as presented.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, against? All right, this proclamation passes. All right, now we go to 2B, resolution of affirmation by the town of Black Mountain to freedom of speech.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's in recognition of National Library Week, which is the 6th through the 12th, if I got that right. Yeah. There's a couple of people I wanted to just give a shout out to before I read it. There's a whole bunch of friends of the library here. Yay, friends of the library, Black Mountain Library, right? And we have Melissa Presley, who's our Black Mountain branch manager. And we have Jason Hyatt, who's the director of the Buncombe County Library System. And we also have, and I can't lay my eyes on him right now, where's Ron Sneed? Ron Sneed's here, and you'll hear about him in just a minute in this resolution, so I thank you for coming. So this is a resolution in affirmation by the town of Black Mountain to freedom of speech as protected by the United States Constitution and recommitment to public library services by the town of Black Mountain and Buncombe County. Whereas libraries inspire lifelong learning, offering a space where individuals can explore new ideas, connecting people with knowledge, technology, and resources, while fostering civic engagement and providing safe and welcoming space for all. Whereas libraries serve as vibrant community hubs, providing free and equitable access to books, digital tools, Wi-Fi, and innovative programming for all ages. Whereas libraries protect the right to read, think, and explore without censorship, standing as champions of intellectual freedom and free expression. Whereas the town of Black Mountain has a long history of appreciating the value of public libraries, the first one being established here in 1922. Whereas the Black Mountain Tyson Public Library has enjoyed a long and fruitful partnership with Buncombe County Libraries in its current location, made possible in large part because of the service of local volunteers serving on the Town of Black Mountain Library, the Town of Black Mountain Library Board, overseeing building maintenance needs, including retired board members Judd Doherty, Ron Sneed, and Carol Tyson, having served a cumulative total of 100 years. You don't look that old, Ron. That's amazing. Whereas Buncombe County, through its Department of Library Services, maintains the highest professional standards for library management at 12 locations, ensuring safe, enriching environments for patrons and meeting all requirements put forth by the State Library of North Carolina. Whereas the Friends of the Black Mountain Library are relentless advocates for quality library services. Whereas recent changes by the federal government, including the elimination of the Institute of Museum and Library Services, known as IMLS, one outcome being the reduction or elimination of funding for state library services like NC Cardinal, our state library consortium for shared library services. Another outcome being the stated intention to influence the nature of materials available in public libraries. Whereas the Friends of Black Mountain Library work tirelessly to raise funds necessary to supplement the resources available in the Black Mountain Tyson Public Library, including periodical subscriptions, large print books, furniture, children's programming, cultural programming, and more. Whereas the long history of municipal, county, and volunteer partnership has been fruitful, cost-efficient, and rewarding for our community. Now, therefore, let it be resolved by the Council of the Town of Black Mountain in honor of National Library Week, April 6th through the 12th, 2025, that the town reaffirms our commitment to our partnership with Buncombe County in making sure quality library services are available for our area residents and visitors. Do I do the motion? No. So where is the motion? Okay. I move to approve the resolution as presented.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
If I could just take one more second.
All right.
I know there's a lot on the agenda, but because this is National Library Week, all the branches in Buncombe County have put together a wish list to kind of make up for materials that have been cut from the budget. And ours is no different, and this is for Black Mountains branch. And if you go to that QR code, it'll take you to a local book vendor where you can buy your things locally and supplement the resources available at the Black Mountain branch if you're so inclined. And I think that was everything I had to say. Thank you.
Okay. Before we go on to the next, I just want to reiterate that that's excellent, Pam. That's what we need. We also need to, almost a decade ago, 2 years ago, I gave a speech at the library. And the basic thing on the library that I spoke to and wanted to emphasize and still emphasize today is that we all need to bond together to not ban any books. I hope that's a feeling among all the folks. Also, too, I have ordered, and I've got more in the truck, but no matter what our difference is in, whether people want to go ahead and ban books or whatever, if we do go ahead and can at least have a common denominator on the Constitution of the United States, even though it may be on the right or be on the left, whatever, if we could keep this as our basis focus, then I think we'll be okay. I've got these extra copies. If people want to take one for free, feel free to. All right. We will now come to the third resolution. Doug Hay will do that.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution was born out of discussions with various members of our community and who have helped draft and contribute to this as well. Whereas the town of Black Mountain recognizes the inherent dignity and worth of every individual, and whereas the community thrives on its diversity and the rich contributions of residents and visitors from every background, and whereas it is the commitment of this town to ensure that all persons, regardless of sexual orientation, gender, ethnicity, religion, national origin, race, ability, socioeconomic status, age, or other distinguishing characteristic, are afforded the full protection under the law and the warmth of our community, and whereas inclusivity and equality are fundamental principles that strengthen our community, promote civic harmony, and reflect the best of our shared values, and whereas by enacting this resolution, the town of Black Mountain publicly affirms its dedication to treating every individual with fairness, respect, and justice. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of Black Mountain, North Carolina, 1, affirmation of inclusivity, that the town of Black Mountain formally proclaims that all persons, regardless of sexual orientation, gender, ethnicity, religion, national origin, race, ability, socioeconomic status, age, or other distinguishing characteristic, are welcome and valued as integral members of our community. 2, that every individual in our town shall be treated equally in the eyes of the law and afforded all rights, privileges, and protections without discrimination. 3, that the town council will continue to uphold and promote policies and practices that foster inclusivity, respect, and equal opportunity for all residents and visitors. And 4, the resolution serves as a public affirmation that of our commitment to creating an environment where dignity is celebrated and every person is guaranteed diversity is celebrated and every person is guaranteed dignity, respect, and equal access to community resources. I would move to approve this resolution as presented.
Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. And our last resolution to be Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration, week of 2025. Whereas Earth Day is observed annually to promote awareness of the Earth's sustaining ecosystem and the importance of preserving its integrity through education and wise stewardship. Whereas April 22nd, 2025 marks the 55th Earth Day celebration, and earthday.org has selected Our Power, Our Planet, inviting everyone around the globe to unite behind renewable energy and to triple the global generation of clean electricity by 2030. Whereas the town of Black Mountain practices energy conservation measures at the town facilities, including LED lighting, waste reduction, recycling incentives that include recycling containers placed in parks, facilities, and offices, providing recycling pickup services to the town, composting at the community garden, and whereas the town of Black Mountain practices water conservation and sustainability strategies that includes but are not limited to river cleanup, streambank restoration, live staking, stormwater management, rainwater catch basins, and organic growing practices at the community garden, pollinator garden bed installations, removal of invasive species in the parks, and the use of biodegradable, eco-friendly chemicals at the facilities. And whereas Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska in 1972, is an annual day of observance, observed on April 25th. And individuals are encouraged to plant trees, educate themselves on the vast benefits they provide. And whereas the town stormwater department hosts several events to raise educational awareness about trees and tree planting by providing free native trees to residents and educational information, thus furthering the goals of the Tree City USA and Arbor Day Foundation. Now therefore be it resolved by the town of Black Mountain Council that April 20th to the 27th, 2025 be recognized as Earth and Arbor Day in Black Mountain. And we encourage all citizens, businesses, and institutions to celebrate Earth and Arbor Day and invite all citizens in Black Mountain and the Swananoa Valley to attend the tree giveaway and memorial planting on Saturday, April 26th at 10 a.m. at 304 Black Mountain Avenue in conjunction with Arbor Day, adopted this 14th day of April 2025. Anyone want to make a motion to adopt that?
I will.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, that concludes our proclamations and reclamations and resolutions. We now move on to citizen comment. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing at the library.
Good job, Ron.
First up is Alan Green.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Town Council. And thanks to all of our employees for allowing me to speak today. I'm going to
Your
talk.
address.
335 Lookout Terrace Road.
Okay.
I'm the last house in the city limits. And anytime you all want to take me off the city limits, I'm all for it. And so does my neighbor Terry Davis. We don't get our road up there scraped. People can't find us half the time, and not only that, we have the snow machines and the trash pickup a lot of times messes up. But that's not what I'm here for, Archie. I'm here to complain about the debris, Helene debris that's not been picked up yet. I'm a little bit disappointed in my town council and also our town manager, because there has to be another way than waiting on FEMA to do anything. I have had a pile of debris, which I had water pushed through my basement. When I had the person up to explain to me what happened to my basement, because I've got all of the French drains you can think about, he said when as much wind as we had and as much water we had, the way the formations were, it literally pushed water through my block walls, 12-inch block walls, okay? So it was a mess. Now I've done my due diligence, and so has Terry Davis, my neighbor. He can't be here, excuse me, he can't be here because he's in a nursing home right now. But we have called the town, we have called Buncombe County, we have been assured that it will be picked up, and we kept going and going and going, and I'm tired of it, and I want my stuff picked up. When you look at a debris pile that's been sitting there for 7 months, you've got, it's a hazard, it's a danger. We have children up on Lookout Terrace. Don't you for once tell me the kid ain't going to get into a pile of wood that's stacked up. Now, I've not got trees there. I've got where I've had to replace my basement for tearing down walls and mold remediations and all of this. But a kid's going to get into that. He's going to get cut. Or I don't think anybody's thinking about the fact that you get rodents, you get insects, and who knows what the coons and all like that gets in there is going to do, as well as any cats and dogs and everything else. This is a health hazard. This is a danger to our children. So it's about time, and I had spoken with one of our town employees, Jessica, earlier about it, and she said there ain't no need for me to talk, but you know, Mike, I'm going to talk. I'm fed up with this. And I expect, now she assured me that it's going to be picked up. I wish I had a count of all of the times. But the whole point is, I pay my taxes just like the center of this town. Just like the people that's close to the golf course and all of this. And I want that debris picked up.
Alice, we hear you. I have contacted Josh myself and sent him your name and number.
He ain't called me yet.
So I just hope that maybe that this will be done. Thank you though for coming.
I had more to say, but
I did the thing there. I have someone here that wants to speak about a permanent sign at Lake Tomahawk.
We are going to be on new business on the agenda. I wasn't sure whether I have to sign it over there or not.
Okay, so you
Maybe at the
want,
second citizen comments?
so you want to speak at the second citizen comment?
He's actually on the agenda.
I'm on the
He
Oh,
did.
he's on the
I'm
agenda.
on the agenda. I
Okay,
didn't know if
all
I-
right, we will scratch that
Signed
off.
up by mistake.
All
No
right.
worries.
Sorry.
Alice McClary wants to speak about the Riverwalk Park.
Hi. I spoke to you all the last meeting and really came before you to in appreciation for everything you guys have done and the information that you've given out to protect this community in the wake of this natural disaster. But I also ask for assistance and information concerning the Riverwalk Dog Park here in Black Mountain. There have been some improvements made in cleaning up the park, and for that we are appreciative, so appreciative. But the grounds have been chewed up by machinery, picking up all of the mountains of debris, and the walkway to the old fenced-in area, it needs to be graded and possibly dressed by gravel or wood chips. I would think wood chips is definitely something that Black Mountain can provide.
You get a lot of.
And not mulch, because the mulch just draws insects and filth, and particularly when you've got animals that are defecating and urinating on the mulch, there's basically, you can't keep it clean. So with that being said, is it possible to address how and when we can see the total renovation of the park? With careful consideration of the money needed and the monumental task of restoring the park, can there be a committee of private citizens that use this park that have volunteered already before we have gotten a little bit of relief? And I don't know where it's coming from. All I know is that somebody has taken all of the mountainous debris away on the park side. But could we be permitted to have a committee of private citizens that use the park and members of either this board or the Parks and Rec board to work together and meet separate to discuss some solutions on how best to address the park for all Black Mountain citizens? One last question. Across the river where there's mountainous debris, will that be cleaned up? And is that a part of the budget that will be used to restore the dog park? Is that a part of the whole picture?
Anyway, I'll respond when you get finished.
I'm finished.
Okay. What's across the river over there, which is on Black Mountain property, because we were given that property by Black Mountain Ventures. And that property is scheduled to have some renovations done on it for stream bank restoration, and I would assume that during that time, that will also be addressed. Now, is the idea of going ahead with the committee? I hope that, our assistant manager here will go ahead and converse with Josh and see if that's something, getting back with the board, and see if that's not something that we can set up.
I spoke to Josh at the last meeting and said that, there is a handful of people that would be willing to meet as a committee to help volunteer in some capacity.
My suggestion is make sure you get in touch with Josh.
Okay.
You would. And if there's an issue, then get in touch with me. Okay?
Okay, so
All right.
are we,
That's
is it?
your
is
3
the
minutes,
time
right?
up? Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks.
1 second, Jessica.
So I can probably answer a couple nuts and bolts real quick. So we are in the process of the procurement for the actual dog park itself, the enclosure areas, shade structure, that type of thing. FEMA will only reimburse us to put the park back the way it was, not re-envision a new park. So we'll put it back. We are also going to be rehabbing the stormwater control measure that is in the center. We're working on all of that. That takes procurement and has to be done during a certain time of the year. Late spring, early summer is a great time for that. So that's in the works.
And what is that?
This is the constructed wetland in the middle of the park in the center walking area.
Oh, that's a mess.
There is more debris work to be done by Army Corps of Engineers on both sides. So I don't know exactly the timing of that. They kind of move at their own pace. So more heavy machinery is coming through there. So we're probably not going to address the walkway until we know for sure all of the heavy machinery has done its job back there. So these activities will occur in phases that, in a logical order, so we don't undo anything. But everything is moving along slowly but surely back there. You're welcome.
Good enough.
I notice in citizen comments, there's a note that says that we don't normally respond during a citizen comment period with questions. I mean, I get it that people have a million questions, but I'm just wondering if we're gonna.
But that has to do, as it's the prerogative of the mayor who can go ahead, because you folks passed the resolution not to go ahead and comment, which is fine. But there again, the mayor takes his opportunity to being the mayor and leading this to respond, not debate, but just respond. The next one up is Bob Burke.
I'm at 16 Magnolia Road. I'm with Operation Blessing. We are a disaster relief organization that has moved into the area, and we've created a coalition with 4 other nonprofits and built an installation up on Dunsmore Avenue. And our mission is over the course of the next year to 2 years, repair or restore 150 to 200 homes in the Black Mountain, Swannanoa area. And that whole coalition was put together around Christmas. A gentleman named Felipe Gonzalez brought Excel College, Operation Blessing, World Vision, and Adventures and Missions together. And the name of our coalition is the Better Together Coalition. And so by leveraging all of our different talents, we're able to get out and really make a big impact. And the reason I'm here today is that the person who kind of put that coalition together, Felipe Gonzalez, he is a Canadian citizen who got a FEMA parole to come down and work for 6 months, and was in the process of getting his E2 visa worked on. And this week, apparently over 100,000 people that have those FEMA paroles were told, you have 7 days to leave the country. And so Felipe, who had moved his family down here, 3 kids, his wife, had made a long-term commitment to the folks of this valley, is planning at 5 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday to start his drive back to Canada. And so I just wanted to make you aware that this gentleman is a hard-working, incredibly productive person that's helping your community. Wanted to make you aware of the fact that he's headed out, and just encourage you, if it is something that you would consider, to maybe draft a letter on his behalf. And I'll email each of you background on what he's done and what his involvement is, as well as some of the recommendation letters he's gotten from Excel College and from others, to give you the data that you would need to determine whether that's appropriate. But we're here for the long term. I've moved here with at least a 2-year commitment to manage our operations here. And we love your community, and I just wanted to let you know that this mover and shaker could use any help you can give them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Please send that to,
I sure will.
to all of us.
I will. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, that takes citizen comment. So now we got communications from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 2. The first one's going to be a recovery update, and it's going to be short and sweet. I'll explain why that is. I promise you we'll make up for it next month. Thank you. So, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a whole lot of things changed. Good things, but none of the dust has settled. So if we were having this meeting 7 to 10 days from now, I would have a lot more meaningful information to give you. But it is not. It is right now. So it's going to be short and sweet. Site inspections. We will have had about 83 of these things before this is all said and done. They are wrapping up this month, hopefully by the end of this week. And it looks a little silly, that slide, but it is important that so it's nice and big. These take all day long. They involve a whole troop of folks from FEMA, and they dominate staff's day. So we're excited to see these this milestone come to an end. The damage inventory, you might remember we originally submitted this on the original deadline in February, but the feds extended that deadline until the middle of this week or later this week. We did catch 3 more damages that were captured in that did push our total closer to about $30 million. But so we are going to resubmit our DI to NC Emergency Management related to that cash flow loan that we received a disappointing $705,000 to see if we are allocated additional funds. So we'll be doing that later this week as well. Debris removal, the USACE mission for right-of-way did end April 1, but we are assured again that they will be continuing to pick up everything that's on the ground through April. I am having additional conversations with the county and city of Asheville about additional opportunities and Plan Bs. I don't know what those can be yet or if there are any, but do know that we're exploring every other option there are. See if something can be pursued. Waterways, also through FEMA and USACE, continues. PPDR, which is the private property debris removal, which does include folks who need to have property demolished. So far, that is 171 applications. Only 9 of those so far are approved demolitions. And then town bridges, USACE is removing debris off town bridges as part of the waterways mission. So that is not something that we've had to take on, which is great, because that requires often specialty equipment and things like that. So all of that continues to move. I swear we are sending 50 and 60 addresses a day to the county and copying everybody and their brother and the private contractor who is hired by USACE with this information if you contact our offices. So want you not to speak, just want you to know that we hear you. We are passing along that information because we're tired of looking at it too, for sure.
How many times do I have to submit it?
As I send it as many times as you send it, so keep on sending it.
Jessica, excuse me, was that 171 in Black Mountain?
Yes, sir.
Unique applications.
Unique applications.
And you notice on there, that last block, you say that it is until.
That is
basically
tomorrow. Yes, so if you have,
And that phone number, do you have that phone number for them?
I can get it, we can pull it, we have the flyers out front.
I think it's 828-250-6100.
I believe you. It is, that you can sign up there. It's also you can do the intake on the website. So Tetra Tech is the name of the company who handles all that information.
And you said flyers in the lobby. Here.
Yep. So tomorrow's the last day to make that request. Temporary facilities arriving May 9th, maybe not on a plane, but that is the cute icon. Hopefully that is on schedule. I have not heard about any delays. Public Works staff and planning will relocate to individual offices down at the Public Works parking lot at 304 Black Mountain Avenue. Next week we'll be announcing staggered office hours to accommodate morning and afternoons, so we load up all of these offices and get staff loaded up, unpacked, and things like that, with, of course, a minimal disturbance as possible. This is just a quick slide to show you. This is a good indicator of folks rebuilding in the community. We've had 98% of our floodplain applications have occurred related to the storm. It's 57 applications. I think the last time I showed this slide it was 49, so they're still coming in. We meet monthly with the Region 4 FEMA floodplain administrators to make sure everything is on the up and up, to make sure we do not only because Florida messed up during Hurricane Ian, and they want to make sure Helene is not a Helene mess up. I mean, a Hurricane Ian mess up. So far, so good. So we're excited about that. As far as planning and development services goes, I cannot read those numbers from here, but I will just tell you that we have a lot of permits coming in related to the storm, which is also another good indicator that people are continuing to put their lives back together. This is just a quick insurance update. I spoke to them on Friday. Insurance is not is not a language I speak very well, so I asked them some basic questions just for the purpose of putting this slide together. And it was helpful just to see how many claims we have open and closed, how much they determined we have incurred versus what has been paid out, and that process will still just keep chugging right along. I felt really good after that conversation. This slide looks different than the last time you saw it, and that is because I've got to figure out how to present this information in a clear way. So FEMA projects progress looks different on the ground versus how it looks in finance versus how it looks in paperwork behind the scenes. I have to figure out how to make that clear. So there are dozens of projects in development, dozens. But that's not always progress that you can see and touch. I promise you can see and touch it if you come in my office or you look at my computer files or my desk, it's there, but it's not necessarily on a sidewalk or in a building quite yet. So it's different. So I'm figuring out a way to dashboard this. It's gonna take me a minute. But for now, the easiest way to tell you is that the expedited project is all submitted. We have half of that money, we're waiting for the other half. The small roads project with 5 roads, which is $355,000, is submitted, we're waiting for that. The EOC project, which is mostly forced account labor because the rest of those expenses were captured, and the expedited project is all the documentation is together and is being collated and reviewed and packaged up for FEMA. The water distribution system project, same situation. The Hilltop Road project, you all have allocated funding for that. The RFQ for engineering is up, and it is working through the process in which it is required by law to go through. So those are the big fat ones that you can kind of wrap your brain around. The rest are in more minutiae states that are less easy to explain right now. A lot of information came out on Friday related to engineering projects, a lot, and it's exciting. But I only know like 2 sentences worth of information, and it's just too early to say. But what is exciting is that we're going to need a whole lot more slides by the next time our next meeting. So I'm looking forward to that. Communication updates. We are going to have a new website. Wesley and I were talking about it this morning. It's written. We have to build it out. I hope to launch it maybe by the end of next week, early the week after. Totally dedicated to this process with project trackers, finance tracking, and gives a lot of context to all what recovery is. Recovery is not synonymous with FEMA. But this is a much more holistic perspective on what it means to recover. Also devised a recovery communication strategy, and the fact that these two things are on this list makes me know that we're getting our head above water, because it meant I could stop and do this. So that's super exciting for us. We'll continue using the resource for the community-based website, blackmountainrecovery.org, particularly as federal money starts trickling out from SBA and CDBGDR. I got all those letters out without slurring them, which is exciting because more funding will become available that we want to make sure is differentiated from the town and clearly community-focused. And of course, we'll keep using Facebook, social media, the town newsletter, the regular website, and things like that.
So the new website that you're proposing is for folks to be able to see what the town is doing, what recovery is for
our
properties?
Yes, ma'am. So that is what are we talking about for public infrastructure?
Yes.
What grants are we participating in? And it's not just damages, but also lessons learned and all of these things. This is a long-term process, and it will build on itself. As we have larger projects, they'll probably have standalone project pages that will bounce out. But there's a lot there, and it will just build out naturally over time.
And so Black Mountain Recovery is still a great place for folks to go that have questions about their individual properties or things the town doesn't touch.
That's right. So really trying to clarify town recovery, public recovery versus individual recovery. And this is just kind of some behind the scenes things. We've been moving and shaking, helping advocate for the town in Western North Carolina. You've heard us talking about the American Flood Coalition. I've been participating with all sorts of weird things that I never thought I would participate in the last several weeks. A delegation of us went to Washington. I was the only municipal staff person who went. I went doing public policy. The rest were elected officials. There was one county manager there. And if I look disgruntled, I'm talking to the head of public assistance at FEMA in the FEMA building, and I had a lot of feelings to say. And I got them off my chest, and it was great, and it was a wonderful exchange. We also met with our senators. We met with the North Carolina House delegation. We met with Intergovernmental Affairs at the White House. That was a less exciting conversation. But also going on behind the scenes, we're advocating for policy changes, expediting funds to Western North Carolina. We've been drafting executive orders to propose to the president. I've been involved in helping draft policy changes for procurement at the state level to try to make this a faster process, because procurement might be the most annoying thing I have ever had to deal with, and at this scale is slowing us down. And we've also helped draft an aid package the other night, which was not what I necessarily do on a normal Friday night. But this is the sort of work it also takes to get us out of this and to be in a position to be able to respond faster in the future. And this is not what we always see. You see us walking around town hall, you see us eating pizza at Fresh and doing all this, but it takes a lot. And so American Flood Coalition has been a great ally for us, and also helping us carve some inroads to elevate Black Mountain's voice in this conversation. So super excited to keep doing that. It's been a lot of fun. And that's our recovery update.
Thank you, Jessica. One announcement that was made at a recent budget meeting last week, I believe, but has not been made at a regular town council meeting, is around the golf course opening.
Yes.
Do you want to share that?
I'm going to get the date wrong. Is it May 9th?
I thought it was the 1st, but
Okay.
it might be the 9th.
So, do you want to do it?
Well, no, you go ahead.
Okay. So, I don't want anybody's thunder. So, we are in the process of, some of these minutia projects that are hard to articulate where they're happening are developing small projects, which means we do a whole lot of procurement, wait a while, get a check, and then go buy a lot of things that were damaged, including equipment and vehicles. And a lot of them for a lot of departments, including the golf course. while we are waiting for these things, we want people to be able to go outside and enjoy themselves. We also want some revenue. And one way to do both of those things is to open up the back 9, so play 9 holes, and to use the front 9 as a driving range. So these are, you can play 2, I don't play golf, so I might mess this up, but you can play back 9 twice and still play 18 holes, and you can go to the driving range, which I might even be brave enough to try. So it's a really creative solution to allow people to get outside and make the most of what we do have. So May 1st, I'll go with that. We'll double check. Does anybody else have that date?
I want to say May 1st was the optimistic soft launch. So
Okay.
maybe May 9th was
Stay
the light.
tuned, check the website. But yes, that's the goal. So the golf course is definitely moving in the right direction.
So it looks like that we're gonna have the computer panel in and
That's what it
also the pump repaired.
Yep.
And put back in place.
Yep.
Okay, so those things will be done.
Yep.
Any word on the equipment, about getting equipment so that we can get the front 9 opened up?
Like I said, we are having to go through the procurement process for all of the equipment to create small projects. I'm not gonna lie, the tariff situation is making that challenging because we can't budget for contingency in small projects. And when you create a small project, a small FEMA project, you cannot amend it. So let's say you give them all of your documentation and it takes 8 weeks for them to obligate the funds. If the prices go up 25% and they obligate that, you have to eat that 25%. So we are navigating that environment right now with vehicles and equipment to mitigate risk to the town, but we have a great team trying to figure out how to best go about that.
What about going ahead and trying to secure equipment? Because we know that if we went to either John Deere or went to Toro, we're looking at months and months and months of just getting in line for equipment. But trying to go ahead and find used equipment, good used equipment, from all the hundreds of other golf courses that are around, that somebody may have a rough mower, someone may have a fairway mower, someone may have a greens mower, so that we could try to get that equipment together so that then we have enough to maintain the ground and then get that front 9.
So we don't have funding to do that at this point. We have not been paid out from insurance for any of those equipments yet. And then if you purchase equipment and you say, I'm good with that, then FEMA will not come in. You can't have a duplication of effort. So you have to be very careful about what you replace. Or what you have donated. So if we had a very generous donation and took all of it, then we could just tell FEMA we're good, we wouldn't worry about it. But if you bought, you would have to go through a review of duplication of benefit, I think's the term, to make sure if you spent all of your insurance money buying equipment that long-term would not meet your needs, then you would have forfeited your opportunity to pursue FEMA funding, if I'm saying that right.
I'm really impressed with the staff out at the golf course because they have limited staff and they figured out a way to get up and running with what we have. And once you get into 18 holes, you need more staff, you need more equipment, you need a lot of work done on that front 9. And I forget what Jerry said, he's worked here on that golf course since 1996, so I was just really impressed that they came up with this creative solution to get us up and running with what we currently have, and which isn't to say we can't move forward with the front 9 as soon as we can. It was a very, all our staff has come up with creative solutions to utilize what we currently have, and I'm grateful for that.
Very good. Yep. So the next was just, honestly, this is one of those could have been an email kind of things. There was some concern raised about a water violation, and honestly, I don't remember all the finer points, but I was tasked with basically finding out if we had violations. So it's really easy to figure this out. So there's a public portal, and I looked at the public portal, and I also just reached out to DEQ. And I hope this gentleman would be mad at me, but I just needed an interesting slide, so I got his picture off LinkedIn. So this is the email he sent me, and I want to give some context. So he says, according to the public water supply staff, the most recent violation was related to monitoring in Q4 2024, but the town is in compliance currently. So the violation in question in Q4 is related to testing. It was an automatic ping, if you will, because we did not send in testing information because we had no functioning water system. As we all very well remember, we did not have water for a very long time. So that's that. And because I never turned down the opportunity to make a graph, so you can go to the DEQ public portal and you can download every public water supplies violation history going back decades. So ours is the one on the left, and then our CCR from 23 is in the middle. Our CCR for 24 comes out by the end of this month. We've already had our visit, all is well.
What's the CCR?
Consumer Confidence Report.
Okay.
I think that's right. The top right corner, that's a clip from our website where you can see, where you can visit City of Asheville's report and ours. And the bottom right is what's on your water bill, where there's also a link. But just to get back to this, like, I just want to put into context, like, violations do happen in water systems. They're expected. They happen for all kinds of reasons. In surface water or in a well system, it could be something like your magnesium levels were high, like some mineral naturally occurring was a little high this month. Things just happen. I have no idea what happened. And those two that are taller, if somebody has better eyes than I am, they might be able to read on there. But I just mostly want people to know that everything's fine. Nobody needs to be worrying. And the violation in question was literally because there was no water to test. So.
It was a notification that the testing was not submitted.
Yeah, it was a finger wag. Black Mountain, you did not submit your testing that you're required to submit. And it was like, that's right, we did not have water to send you. So that's what that was.
But we have water.
Not when this.
We had Asheville water. And why wouldn't we be testing Asheville water?
This is our water system, not Asheville's system. Asheville tests their system, we test our system.
Right, and they tested at North Fork. But I'm just saying, we test our wells at Dunsmore, but we also test them in the middle of town and various other places. And I'm just wondering why we wouldn't be testing Asheville water just to be sure.
We don't test City of Asheville water. The City of Asheville is responsible for testing City of Asheville water. I don't know what date that was, but our wells were not functioning, and that is why we did not submit on that date.
How come it took us 5 months to get our wells back up?
I am not the person to ask that question.
Yeah, I've asked it several times and have not gotten any answers as to. I mean, I've got a couple of trailer parks and we deal with wells and they go out and we get them fixed. I'm just wondering why it would take 5 months. We know we had the water line that was broken, the 10-inch line coming out of Dunsmore, and that got all repaired. But as far as getting the wells up and running, because what it meant is that we're having to buy all our water from Asheville for 5 months.
Well, we spent many weeks just repairing our water distribution system. Many weeks.
A lot of those months they weren't charging us, as I understand it.
Could you find that out, please, to see if they were charging us?
Oh, they didn't charge us for quite a long time.
Okay, but I don't know how.
Sure.
Did that just through October through November?
Sure.
And find out?
Yeah, happy to. So that was, but as far as concern about the water system being in violation and somehow that being something to worry about, according to this gentleman, all's well. That's all I got on that. And so next we can roll into the consent agenda, if that's okay with you, Mr. Mayor?
That's fine.
All right. So on 5A, we have the adoption of meeting minutes from February 24, 2025, where you had a joint meeting with the planning board and you also have the March 1st, 2025 council retreat. and the March 6, 2025 agenda work session, and the March 10, 2025 regular meeting. 5B, you have the monthly tax collector report. 5C, you have a call for a public hearing to amend Chapter 8, Sections 8.2.2, 8.2.7, 8.2.14, 8.2.15, 8.2.18, and 8.2.29, Phase 2 Stormwater Ordinance to align with Phase 2 Stormwater Ordinance and the town's requirement for the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality for the town's National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, NPDES permit, and the Stormwater Management Plan, or the SWMP. 5D, you have a call for a public hearing for a voluntary annexation of property owned by Gibbons Highland Farm. And 5E, you have the associated public hearing to rezone 99999 Francis Avenue and 320 Tabernacle Road from R1 to OI6. And 5F, you have Cragmont Park renovation capital project closure to dissolve that fund, as you guys have previously discussed. And that is your consent agenda.
Your motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I'll move to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. Any discussion on it? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. So next we've got a public hearing, but we don't have any. And then citizen comment. No one signed up for the second citizen comment. So now we go into unfinished business. EPA's lead and copper service line inventory.
Okay, this one's also very short. If you'll remember last month, I said I would go back and get some better understanding of what's going on with a resolution that was introduced in both the House and the Senate regarding the LCRI. There are two components of this. There is the inventory legislation, and then there's also the line replacement part of it. What's been introduced in Washington only affects the line replacement at this time. Nothing has been introduced that affects the inventory itself. So we have to still move forward with the inventory itself. So we will re-engage our engineers, kind of get an updated timeline. I'll update you guys on what that looks like. We have not done that quite yet, but we will.
Just to clarify, the word lead scares the heck out of most people.
Oh yeah, we don't have lead. This is just an unfunded federal mandate that we map our service lines. You have a quick just review. Distribution lines are the big ones that carry the water around town. Service lines are the little ones that go from there to the meter and from the meter to your house. We have to, by federal law, map and inventory what they are made of from here to here and here to here on both sides. So that is quite the undertaking. And we have a loan from DEQ for $500,000 to complete that work. We met that federal deadline during the middle of the hurricane when we didn't even have power. So I don't know how we did that. But we're not off the hook. So that we'll trudge on with an updated timeline soon.
Can you give the board, please, a time frame on that? I'm not asking for it right now, but if you would go ahead and make sure that that comes out at the next board meeting then as well.
Yeah, and I can tell you, originally, we anticipated about 3 to 4 months of field work. So I anticipate it still being similar. Just not sure they still have to procure the contractors, and so we'll see what that timeline looks like. But as soon as I know that information, I'll certainly let you all know.
Thank you. New business.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Give you a break.
Please.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'll do this item on behalf of Jennifer Tipton in the Planning Department. She's liaison for the Historic Preservation Commission. There's a member that has not attended sufficient meetings, and per our advisory board, commission, and committee member handbook, a member that misses more than 3 consecutive regular meetings over the course of a year will be eligible for dismissal from the board, from that board. So I'm just bringing that to y'all, and what we would ask is you've got the information in front of you, to remove that member and then re-advertise for for that remainder of that term. We are getting ready to advertise for advisory boards and commissions as a whole. It's that time of year, so that will be coming up in the next, here very soon, probably in May anyway. So, so we just need a motion to, if you agree, to remove that member, Ms. Vadrine, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Do I hear a motion?
I move to remove the listed member of those from the Historic Preservation Commission due to excessive absences.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. White Mountain Radio Sailing Club.
I'm gonna ask Franz to join me up here. I say hello with you. So it is no secret that Lake Tomahawk Park is well loved by many people in our community for what it has to offer. And since 2005, the Black Mountain Radio Sailing Club has been operating at Lake Tomahawk. You've probably seen them out there if you've been out there racing their boats and whatnot. And they are requesting to install a permanent sign out there. I think Wesley has kind of the mock-up of it to promote their club and to recruit people to get involved. And so I'll let Franz kind of explain a little bit about it. And if you have any questions, you can ask him.
Especially when we sail, a lot of people come by and ask, do your boats have a motor and stuff like that. That's the most frequent question, but anyhow. So the sign is, the purpose of the sign is really to give people information while we are not sailing. Because we have a lot of people walking the lake constantly. And because we have the buoys out there and people don't know why are the buoys out there in the water floating it out and not floating their stationary in the lake. But we really would like to see whether we can have a sign made. It is going to be the same as the storyboard sign dimensions. The sign will be put on, it's on the metal, we print it on metal, so it's not weathering down or whatever, it looks bad. And we just really want to promote the sport of an activity of radio sailing. It's a great, it's a wonderful hobby for young and the older people. Especially a great activity for seniors because you can be out in the fresh air, have good fun, be out in the sun, and don't have a lot of physical requirements to do it. I mean, you can sit actually in the wheelchair and sail. Somebody we would help them put the boat in the water and stuff like that. But and also it's being a member in the club, it fosters a great camaraderie situation, and we're very open to have people coming and joining us, and we have opportunity for somebody to try it out if they want to do that. But we really would like to see whether we could have that sign done.
Any questions?
I can't think of a reason why we wouldn't want that.
Well,
It's a wonderful
but when I asked Josh
opportunity.
whether we can have it, and he suggested we need to come in front of you all.
I love that. I love what you do, and I love that it'll be uniform with the other signage that's out there.
Yes.
And it's just a wonderful opportunity for people to get involved in good stuff.
And the other opportunity, the other thing we have is we have a vested interest in the lake to be at a constant level of water level as much as possible, to keep debris out of the water. Usually when we sail and we see, unfortunately, a lot of young children that like to throw sticks in the water, we usually remind them, please don't do it, because you see we have a long keel on the boat, And when they float out in the water, we get hung up, which doesn't make a lot of fun to get it back in, but, so, but, and I have also, right after Helene, when the water was, the lake became usable again, I'm the person that is usually down at the spillway to clean the spillway out. So you see all those piles of wood down there on the lake. I'll pull all that out. Not to dam up the spillway, then the water level goes up too high. And our landing that the club commissioned is underwater and we cannot sail. So we have a vested interest to keep all this nice and tidy. So that's all.
Anybody else got any questions?
It's always a joy to see the boats out there. I know my kids love watching you guys do your work.
Well, come and join us sometime.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve this signage? Your proposal?
I'll move that we approve the signage proposal as presented.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much, Ron.
Thank you,
Josh. The last item we have is the amended project ordinance, budget amendments. Tammy?
Monthly change in the holding project. So we're amending the project to recognize the donation that you guys received from the Presbyterian Church for the Veterans Park. That was $67,000. We also received additional revenues for the vehicle and equipment insurance claims from the League of Municipalities of $38,732.07. That was the total increase in that project of $105,732.07. The rest of the adjustments was just reallocating to different expense lines because the budget not changing the totals, just adjusting those line
Let me just
items.
interrupt you there before we go on to that, just to get a couple of questions here. On those additional revenues from the vehicle equipment insurance, can you be a little more specific? Overall, we must have, what, $1 million that we tried to claim and we couldn't get. So what's the specifics that this is covering?
So that was for 2011 Ford F-250 van, 2016 Dodge Charger, the upfitting. We'd already gotten the replacement for the vehicle, but the upfitting of that vehicle. And that was all that was included in those two insurance proceed checks.
So all the claims that we have made, of course, there again, the League of Municipalities, that is our major insurance carrier, correct?
Yes, yes.
All right, and we have a limit on that of $5 million?
I know it's $5 million for the buildings. I'm not really sure on the vehicles and equipment, if it's a different $5 million, if it's included in that $5 million. That would be a question we'd have to get with Rhonda about. She does those claims.
Okay.
Yes, we'll find out.
Please do that and then get back to me sometime and the rest of the council members to let them know.
Yes.
Reason I'm just trying to come up with how we're going to be, how much money that we have coming in, what our claims are for vehicles.
Yes.
Everything from the garbage trucks to police cars to whatever. And then to see on that same graph over there, what is being covered and what is not being covered.
We've received $2,216,000 in insurance proceeds so far. But if you'll remember, a large chunk of that in the beginning was, the $2 million was for, where they were just sending us a lump sum in the beginning to help with our cash flow. But we have to be really careful of that because that has to be going towards the repair. And that was buildings. I think the majority of that was a public works building, but they couldn't give us an exact say if this is specifically for this thing. They were just sending us a check at the very beginning. And I do know from my discussions with Angela, they have clawed back that money from other municipalities. They have not reached out to us and asked for that back.
I chatted with the insurance company on Friday, and this is where, when I mentioned the updates are coming, and so this meeting, I wish it were a week later. I'm told preliminarily, we do not anticipate money being clawed back, so that is good. In 90 days, we will know how they are allocating the money out in the flood category for buildings. They did, that is true, when they just gave it to us. We can't just spend it, because FEMA is going to require it be specific, okay? They are anticipating our flood damages totaling at 3.2 for buildings. They are meeting later this week. It's possible, it's supposed to be Friday. Somebody's coming back from maternity leave. It could be early next week, schedules. To firm up some of these numbers and what it will mean for paying out large amounts on equipment. So we will have better insurance updates in that, I'm going to say 7 to 10 day period. We have also talked to the league about coming to talk to you all and explain the different categories if some reports are not clear enough after these meetings settle some of these larger amounts.
Will
So
a lot of this come up at our next budget workshop on the 23rd?
I would expect so.
I mean, revenue, that's the focus of that one, is the incoming.
I would expect to have some of these questions clarified by then, based on the timing that they described to me.
So that we can have this broken down, so that we know whether it was garbage trucks or whether it was police cars.
Most of it
whether or
is
not
broken
it was
down.
golf
We do have this claim covered I'm making this up, $100,000 of this, $300 on that. We have that information. It just that money has to live with that item until such time we are replacing that item, because it's going to come off of the FEMA reimbursement. So, and we don't have additional revenue to make up for that insurance revenue.
And it was 1.5 million that we received in the that they give us the cash flow claims at the beginning, and that is for the buildings and the flooding mitigation. So you have different types of claims. You have the flood, you have the wind, all these different types of claims, and they pay different amounts based on which type of claim they are for.
And the clawbacks had to do with some adjusters covering in other cities covering buildings that should not have been covered, and so those buildings were clawed back. Thankfully, we are not believed to have been included in that mistake.
But I can get you a list, because all this 743,000, I've got, usually with every one of those budget amendments that I put in, I put like what the vehicle was on there or the piece of equipment, but I can go and get
I
that.
think it's critical, because a lot of the citizens wonder why are we not getting money, or where did this money go to?
And I know
Did we get money on this?
two of the trash trucks, we got funds for 2 of those already. That's included in that 743.
And this website that we're talking about is going to have a finance tracker that will include sort of to help support explaining information about where the revenues are coming and how they work.
On the golf course, that equipment there, I keep hearing that none of that was covered. On that particular insurance policy, did we by chance have was that with the league, or was that with Inland?
It was on the league, but it was a lease, and on that lease, there was not flood insurance on that leased equipment.
I would wait until we have more conversations with the league from this meeting later this week, because I think that more information is forthcoming. I feel like some of these conversations might be a little early.
Yeah.
Just based on conversations I had with them on Friday.
I'm just trying to move forward to see if we can get the golf course open.
Well, I certainly understand. I get it. I'm hearing multiple people say different things, and so when they tell me they're having a big meeting to clarify lump sums and make decisions about other paying out, I want to wait for that meeting and them to come back to us, because I'm hearing information from different people that conflicts. And so I want to hear what they're going to tell us from that meeting. So, and we should know soon, and cross our fingers.
Okay, because they've gone ahead and put in a request to Josh to go ahead and get a copy of that insurance policy, so that we can look at that to see, because I know that I got a friend of mine that's a logger, and he has a particular, it was in there as a floater policy, meaning that the equipment that he uses all the time floats around, so it's not just always in one spot, which precludes him from having to go ahead and get flood insurance, because it's covered if it does get flooded, and his did. So I'm just hoping that maybe that insurance policy that we have on that leased equipment very well may reflect that kind of a rider.
We will come back with more information very soon.
Any other questions about?
What about on fund balances? Trying to come up with, I know we hear we don't have money, we don't have enough money, we know that. But in what pools of money? I mean, right now, are we adhering to what this board and previous boards has gone ahead and passed, and that is that we have to have 36%
We do not have 36%.
in the fund balance?
No, we do not.
Okay. What kind of percentage do we have in fund balance in the two categories of one being encumbered and one being unencumbered?
I would have
What
to
are those figures?
I'll have to pull those reports. This was the only month that I didn't get you your finance report. I took a week off, so didn't get that finance report done in time. I had the Helene report done, but I can get you an up-to-date finance report. Usually on the top of those, I put what our fund balance is at every one of those meetings, and I don't remember exactly what it was in the March meeting when I provided that one. But the fund balance that I'm listing on there that is just our total fund balance. That is restricted, all of it together. So I can get you a clearer total, but, it's sort of hard to look at that. And then, like Jessica and I were talking earlier today, you have the auditor that comes in and does these all year-end adjustments. So the one that we look at is not going to be the same total that we have when the auditor gets done doing all the year-end adjustments that they have to do for the
It's
state.
a cash flow, it's a huge cash flow problem, and every municipality has it right now in Western North Carolina. And the state requires 8%.
Yep.
And the town of Black Mountain has, in my memory anyway, probably way longer, required at least 30%, 36, 30.
Yeah.
And fortunate, that was super, if you want to call it a rainy day fund, holy moly, that was a rainy day.
Yeah.
So I'm super grateful that people in the past had that foresight. But the fact that the fund balance is lower now than it has been before is not because we're not keeping track of it or we're spending money willy-nilly. I mean, it's just a rough time for cash flow for municipalities. What if it's a reimbursement issue?
Yeah.
We still have a town to run.
And we have seen some of it come back, and I was actually trying to draw this the other day because it helps me to draw things, but, we took $2 million and we moved it from here over here and made this Helene fund. We spent it all, like, instantly. We've received some of it back. The rest of it is, maybe in the mail. We're gonna be hopeful. And then more of it is in the queue for roads. And so things are coming back, but so until we get a better cash flow situation, we're going to be kind of, we've talked about rinse repeating with that $2 million in combination with other sources, whether it's insurance funds or other things. So, and it is a moving target. I think I have really wanted it to be a more solid vision, but as resources become available, and we get more creative in how we match resources, it is nebulous, and it will just be a puzzle to work with over time.
Just on one thing, just clarification that we have 36, I'm pretty sure there was 36%, and then the state doesn't require 8%, the state recommends 8%.
If you get below that 8%, they start sending you nasty grams and start coming here and wanting to take over. So, but you look at what we had our huge fund balance we had before we went into this, and how it's depleted that, just to run the town. And you think about all these other municipalities that did not have all that money, and I don't know how they're surviving. I don't know what they're doing. We were very fortunate that we were good stewards of the money and had that money sitting there to use, but it worries me. Yeah, that's what, before I pay one of the large bills that comes out of Helene, I'm like, I need to check the cash, because just because the budget's there does not mean you've got cash, because like the loans and items, okay, that's a budget number, we could budget for that, but we have no cash that's came in. So if the financial, we've spent 4.1 million, a little over 4.1 million, we've got 5.6 million, and that includes the 2 million or 2.4 million that came from the general fund. So it's tough right now.
How far, Jessica, how far away from 8% do you think we are? Just guessing.
Oh, I don't want to guess.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
That sounds like a good number for us to revisit at our budget workshop next
Yep.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to do that tonight.
Yeah. I don't want to be held to something and be like, oh, no.
I've finally been able to get out and talk to some folks, in other municipalities, and talking about going bankrupt is a conversation that's happening all over Western North Carolina and some of these smaller jurisdictions. What does that look like? And in reality, it's the LGC coming in. That's what that means. And I keep saying something has to happen. Someone is going to do something. And I was speaking with someone at North Carolina Emergency Management the other day about like peel the curtain back. Tell me what's happening. She said, we're just praying. And I was like, oh. Okay, well then I will do that too, because I was sure she was going to tell me something more with like a check involved for your Lake Lures and Chimney Rocks. So
It's clear that's not the situation.
That is not the situation we're in. And as dire as it feels sometimes, and as many highlighters as I have used to try to match up different things and figure out these combinations, we could be in a much worse situation.
What it does mean is we're all going to be faced with hard choices on a personal level, on a municipal level, and it's going to require a lot of patience, and it's going to take years to work through all these things. And I don't mean to be gloomy, but I do appreciate it when the citizens are, I just want to be honest, and transparent, that this is not going to be fixed this fiscal year or next fiscal year, and we're working on it.
Yeah, sort of, you look at everything we need to make the repairs, and even though, yes, the money's going to come in from FEMA, it's like, well, what are we supposed to not do? What operating functions are we not supposed to do so that we can buy the things to get reimbursed by FEMA to make us whole again? And so that's one of the choices we have to make, because you're going to have to cut something. You're going to have to cut services. You're going to have to not do something in order to have the funds to repair what needs to be repaired. And that's not a good place to be for any of us.
I want to make this end on a happier note and say, like I said, good news is coming, and the list is going to be longer next month. So just hang in there. There's going to be FEMA's throwing us a bone on some certain things, and as soon as I'm able to share that out a little bit more, I promise we'll be moving the needle on a few things.
The other good news is you took a week off.
I got
You
married.
went 3 years without a day off.
I got married, so I went on a honeymoon.
Oh, I didn't know that part.
I had to do it within, I was like, first, my husband wanted to take off in September, and I was like, why would you do that? I can't, that's audit time. I cannot take off in September. So we did it in March. So.
Thank you for accommodating us, Tammy.
You're welcome.
One last thing, I was on Friday, the governor came up and was a group people from all over the different counties, commissioners, elected officials, and different people from League of Municipalities, Emergency Management. And as we went through the exercises and listened there for 4 or 5 hours, the number one thing that came out of the meeting that people need, cash.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That is the number one thing that everyone, that people came out with. And so the governor is going ahead and reissuing another bill, and there's several other bills that he's got. So hopefully, you know, and with bipartisan support, we will, the counties, including us, will receive some extra money. Is it going to be enough to make us whole? No, it's not.
Hopefully it's more than the
But it'll make
700,000.
us, but it'll make us move towards that thing where we can get back to normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Every
thank
little
you.
bit helps. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Don't get to vote on it.
I move that town council approve the amended grant project ordinance and budget amendment as presented and recommended. And I'd add that, again, gratitude towards the Presbyterian Church for that donation, $66,000. Got the ball fields up and running.
Any questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 10, communication from town attorney.
So my meetings with the planning board are ongoing. We have 2 coming up this month. Hopefully by the end of the next meeting, which is tomorrow night, we'll have gone through 4 of the 11 possible chapters, changes. So it's a steady slog, but we are moving ever forward.
Well, please say something about HB 765.
I was going to ask about.
So there's a lot of legislation out there that is too early to tell. It's there's just a lot of like very radical things occurring or being proposed, or a lot of things that some people would find to be very radical. So it's just too early to tell where everything's are, because there's so many bills that get thrown on the wall, and a lot of them don't stick. So too early.
Okay, I'll turn down the stress vibes over that
Do not
one.
be stressed
Okay.
until it becomes law, because there's nothing you can do about it anyway.
Okay.
Anything from Josh?
I am not Josh. Josh is on vacation. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in there. We've been very busy, and we have budget meetings coming up. We'll resume those. So, but if you need anything, just reach out. If things is moving on smoothly. And we're closed Friday. I keep forgetting that. So thank you for the reminder. Yes, we'll be closed Friday for the holiday.
But trash pickup is as scheduled, I believe.
Yeah, I think so, yes, that's right.
Anything from town council? I just want to make sure that we do our best in the town to get this debris picked up, especially Mr. Green. All right, do I hear a motion to go into closed session for attorney-client privilege?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.